Welcome into the 74th edition of the Cleveland Sports Realm podcast. That's number 74, and we'll do this episode in honor of former Browns offensive lineman, Pro Football Hall of Famer Mike McCormack. And so that's who the 74th edition is going to be in honor of here this evening as we record on Tuesday, April 7th. And I'm Jerome. And we bring in a guest tonight that we're very happy to have. It's been a long time in the making. I appeared on his podcast, probably about a year ago, huh?
It's about a year. We did a baseball preview show together about a year and a half ago, I believe.
Yeah, so, that was a little bit over a year ago. Andrew Hoty, formerly of 92.3 The Fan, you could also hear him on 88.3 The Sting, radio station out of Berea, and then also of Raw Takes & Co. That's your podcast.
We're available on YouTube. We're looking at expanding maybe into Spotify and Apple Podcasts at some point, but right now you could find us on YouTube.
Absolutely. So, Andrew, it's great to have you here tonight. He's filling in for Kevin this week, and it's we've go a long way back because I met you, I'm going to say it's been 2018?
2019 is when I started at BW. Well, I started in 2018, but I didn't start at the station until 2019.
Okay, so 2018, we've known each other since. So great to have you here tonight. And like I said, go ahead and make sure, like we said, go ahead and let everybody know your podcast, Raw Takes & Co. If you want to tell our audience a little bit about that and hopefully expand your audience.
Appreciate that. Raw Takes & Co. We are big friends of the Cleveland Sports Realm, of course. I host it with some other BW alumni, Jake Malensik and Matthias Andahar, so shout out to them as well. We host it, and we have new episodes typically on Thursdays, sometimes on Fridays, depending on the week. Check out Raw Takes & Co. We're on YouTube. We're looking at expanding to more, but right now on YouTube. You could also listen to me on 88.3 FM The Sting, Tuesday mornings from 6 to 9 for some modern rock in the morning, that is, 6 to 9 a.m., and then on Sunday nights, you can listen to Oldies Amplified, which is a classic rock show. I add a little bit of sports in between because I'm a big sports fan. I have that sports background, as you mentioned. I did a lot of sports at BW, too. But, that's a little bit about me. And make sure to check out Raw Takes & Co. But most importantly, check out Cleveland Sports Realm as we're here right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So, absolutely. And we'll make sure to get your plugs in there at the end as well, too, because you did fill in, and I know you will, without even doing the show yet. You'll fill in very admirably for our usual co-host here, Kevin. So let's get into this week. And also, before we begin addressing, we do want to apologize again about not being available last week. We missed our first episode ever. And sometimes Mother Nature has different ideas. And when producer Derek loses power, that means we're nothing good out of that's going to happen. So we were unable to with Mother Nature and the brutal wind and rainstorm of last week, but we're happy to be back here, and we plan to be every week moving forward. All right, let's start. We put a bow, as I said, we're doing this on Tuesday. So last night we put a bow on the 2026 NCAA tournament with at least I know from you and I's point of view, the hated Michigan Wolverines win it all. They defeat UConn in kind of a slugfest of a game. And, Michigan, I'm going to go ahead and say this. They were bigger than everybody this year, and I think that had a lot to do with it. Their size was kind of unmatched. And, the other thing with that, too, is I got to give Dusty May some credit. As much as I hate Michigan, in only his second year, he has a whole brand new 5 starting lineup, which is the common trend nowadays in college basketball, as you well know. And, he did go and get Elliot Cadeau from North Carolina. We'll give him credit that. But, he did find some hidden gems like Yaxel Lundenberg, who won Big Ten Player of the Year. The guy came from UAB, so it's not like he poached from all big schools. He went big and small, and he put together what evidently ended up being apparently the best team in the country, and they got the hardware for the first time since 1989 to show for it.
You're absolutely right, and I think the big thing for Michigan this year, and why I personally don't... It's a legitimate championship. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, because it's them. I can't stand them.
It's not just because it's them, but their starting 5 was not Michigan program raised, essentially.
Right.
This was not homegrown Michigan basketball. This was, let's explore the transfer portal and get as much talent as we can for our basketball program, basketball. It's the new era. So, yeah, it's a legitimate championship. It just does not feel right to me, and I know that this is the era of college sports we're in now. But that fact alone, to me, did not make this championship really worth it because UConn had a lot of homegrown guys. Arizona had a lot of homegrown guys. You look at other programs across the country like Duke had a lot of homegrown guys. I mean,
well, the Duke
Michigan
guys are
did not.
typically there for 1 year, and
Yeah.
they're all NBA talent bound anyway. And that'll happen with probably both the Boozers, and as well as I would imagine Caleb Foster will probably go, and
Cameron Boozer, no doubt.
Cameron Boozer, yeah, he's going to be maybe the top pick in the draft. But either way, you're right, though. That is the era of college basketball in which we're in now. UConn obviously got, they had Silas Demery, who came from Georgia. And now I'll give you, Caravan's been there forever. Alex Caravan's been there for a long, long time. I personally can't stand Danny Hurley. Like, he aggravates me a lot. I'm not saying he's not a great coach and one of the, a future Hall of Famer. I think that's all true and well and good. Hurley aggravates me. He's kind of a POS, if you know what I mean. And
well, he gets fired up a lot. There's no doubt. Yeah.
So this national championship didn't have much personal interest for me. If I want to be perfectly honest, I can't stand Hurley and the Huskies. I can't stand the Wolverines. So the personal allure for me wasn't there. I'm not saying it was not there for most of the country. We'll see the ratings come out later this week. I'm sure they'll be fine. But for me, it wasn't really there. And, I think a lot of that was me being sour grapes too, because I had the Wildcats of Arizona winning it all. They didn't.
So did I.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't there for you either. It wasn't there for me, man.
I don't dislike Dan Hurley the way you said you did.
Okay.
I don't mind Dan Hurley, but at the same time, like, I get that UConn has won it so much recently that a lot of people might just be fatigued of them.
Sure.
I'm just fatigued of Michigan's crap. And it's not just basketball. It's the football stuff. It's everything. And I get it. I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm biased. I don't like Michigan. I will flat out admit it. But, I mean, as I said, legitimate championship, absolutely. Michigan was the best team in this tournament. There is no doubt. They put 90 points, except in the championship game, they put 90 points at the bare minimum against everybody else, including Arizona, who I thought was the top team in the country. But they weren't. So Michigan proved that they were the best team, but still, it just doesn't feel right based on that one sole fact that this is not a homegrown Ann Arbor, Michigan team.
Right.
It just isn't.
And that's the thing, though. It's just never going to be in this current era. I was listening to former Clevelander and St. Ignatius alum John Fanta today. Was on your former place of work, 92.3 The Fan, on my way home from work. And Fanta said, if you want, and I think he's as good of a college basketball mind as we have now out there. He's young. He knows what's going on. He covers the sport year round, yada, yada. Fanta said this, and it's true. Look, if you don't have $10 million and a really good coach nowadays, there's no sense in even showing up for college basketball. And $10 million doesn't count paying your coach. Look, the other reason I might, and maybe a couple other Ohio State fans are feeling a little bit of sour grapes, is because we had a chance to hire Dusty May. Dusty May interviewed with us, and we chose to keep Jake Diebler. Now, does it necessarily translate to the Ohio State Buckeyes would have won the championship had Jake?
Absolutely not.
No. Had they hired Dusty May instead of Jake Diebler? We'll never know. Probably not. But the ways
not at all. Pardon me for interrupting, but not at all. I don't think it would have anything to do with it. But go on. I'm sorry.
Reason I give Dusty May credit is, okay, you did it at Florida Atlantic. Can you do it at the Big Ten? And he did it. And I will say where I give him credit is he did take a couple other people who, Illinois was a Final Four team. Brad Underwood's a real good coach. He buried Morris Johnson on the bench last year. Morris Johnson was a huge part of this Michigan championship team. Yaxel Lundenberg was good at UAB. If memory serves me right, he led the Blazers to the tournament. But who would have thought Yaxel Lundenberg in his first year in the Big Ten would be the Big Ten Player of the Year? Like, the reason I'll give Dusty some credit is I think he took some. Now, granted, Ellie Cadeau, he paid a lot of money for, sure. But he did take some kids who probably weren't that coveted in the portal, and he elevated their game, and that's a sign of a really great coach. So I do have to give Dusty a lot of credit for them, cutting down the nets last night.
I will give him credit, but at the same time, to the point about Ohio State that you were trying to make, I don't think it would have had much of a difference because Ohio State didn't go to the transfer portal for nearly as many guys as Michigan did. So I will keep preaching about the transfer portal. And listen, I get the transfer portal nowadays. I'm still pretty against it for reasons like this. It just didn't feel like a natural championship team in terms of that major detail. And I get I have bias against Michigan and all that. It's really affecting this sport, and I think we're really, really starting to see it more and more that we watch it. I feel like the transfer portal has actually been more negative on basketball than it has football, if you want my honest opinion.
Well, I agree with you, and I have made this point on many, many episodes ago, and the reason why for that is because I'm not saying that basketball's not hard or anything like that, but basketball, if you have a kid with some talent and you coach him up, you can make him a great player easy. Football, learning the playbook is a whole different beast in itself. It's a hell of a lot easier, Andrew, to transfer in basketball and be an effective player immediately than it is football. Like, you transfer in football, like, unless you're Caleb Downs. Like, look, Caleb Downs came from Bama, came to the Buckeyes, was an immediate impact. That's because Caleb Downs is a needle in a haystack, right? Mm-hmm. He's not, there's not a million Caleb Downs running around out there. But in basketball, if a kid's got some talent, it doesn't take months and months and months to learn a basketball playbook. If you got talent, call for a screen, roll to the basket. You can run. They've been running the pick and roll since long before you and I were breathing in air on this earth, right? Like, It doesn't necessarily, it doesn't matter as much in basketball, and that's why transferring, I think, to your point, is so much easier, and it has affected basketball. When you watch a game on whatever network you're watching it on, and they say so-and-so started here, then went there, then went. By their senior year, they've been to 4 different places now. So I think your point is well received.
I mean, it's just, there needs to be some limitations with the transfer portal because of exactly what you just said. If there's a guy that's been to 4 different colleges for basketball in his entire collegiate basketball career, that's insanity.
Yeah. Now, I don't, listen, I here's where I come out on this, and I didn't, this is what's always fun about doing this show. I didn't know we'd be talking transfer portal, but here we are, and it's a worthy conversation having, because of, the reason, and it all relates to back to, again, Michigan won last night with 5 kids who are transfers as their starting 5. And, they did still have some kids that were there from last year. Cheddar was there last year and a handful of others. But what I will say is that I don't mind these kids making money because the universities profit so much off of them. Like, so I have no problem with that. Where I do then have a problem is how many times you could leave, the 1-year deal stuff. I think that when you sign a deal with a school, it needs to be a 2-year deal. And I think you should be allowed 1 transfer in your 4 years.
That sounds pretty fair to me.
Okay. But now, do you have a problem with them profiting? I don't have a problem with the kids making money because
I do, because it's just not, I'm an old school person when it comes to that kind of thing. I think that's what the pros are for. The pros are for the financial aspects and the financial gain. To me, name, image, and likeness, like outside of the collegiate aspect of it, that's fine if you're going to use your name, image, and likeness outside of the NCAA. But inside the NCAA, I feel like with colleges in particular and NIL money and things like that, it's tricky. It's a different time, and and who am I to say? But I kind of have the old school theory behind it, where that's what really getting to the pros is all about, is to make the paycheck that way.
Sure, but these universities are making millions and billions of dollars off of these kids. I think these kids should be able to get some sort of profit because these universities are profiting so extensively off of them. That's where
a great argument too.
That's where my point of view is. And look, should they be able to go from Oregon to UCLA to Southern Alabama to finish up at, St. John's? I don't know. I'm just throwing 4 random universities out there. I don't even know if that was necessarily the path of somebody. I'm just saying these kids are all making these schools so much money by putting their bodies on the line and being athletes. Then go ahead and let the kids make a little bit of scratch off of it. That's my theory.
And it never used to be you couldn't transfer. I mean, there was players that transferred back in the day, but it used to be a lot harder.
Well, sure, and then you had to sit out a year. You couldn't. You had to sit.
But to me, I feel like that was a much more even balance, taking that pressure off. I mean, I know there's the arguments for the transfer portal. You could play right away, but there's got to be some limitation to this.
So
There just has to be.
I have no problem with people profiting. My thing should be the number of transfers. That's where I'll meet you in the middle on. I think the kids absolutely should be financially compensated for leading the school and bringing the school so much money and putting their body on the line. And college, the thing is, let's call it for what it is. And all the NCAA football is now is a minor league for the NFL, and all the NCAA basketball is a minor league for the Euro League and the NBA, because there's more kids who actually end up going to the Euro League than there is in the NBA.
By far. Or the G Leagues.
Yes. So it's basically a minor of the G League. So that's where I that's where I come out on it. But either way, it does stink as an Ohio State fan that Michigan now has won a football and a basketball championship. At least we've won a football. I don't know. Basketball, I hate to say it, we're just not on the level of the Maize and Blue.
We're not even on the level of Michigan. We're not even on the level of Purdue, let alone Michigan, or even Illinois. Ohio State's basketball program needs a lot of work. It's not nearly even as good as it was in the 2000s and 2010s.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They're a complete train wreck right now. And, Diebler's got a lot of work to do with this program. I personally like Jake Diebler a lot. I think he can turn this program around. I think he's done some things in the right direction. Obviously, we're getting to the tournament still. We just aren't doing anything in the tournament, and that's going to be on Ohio State to figure out.
Right, and I think one thing that I thought was cool was, hey, Bruce Thornton stayed there all 4 years.
He did.
And that is unheard of in the current era we're in, as we just discussed.
Just look at Michigan. It's a prime example. I mean, it is.
So that's that. But any other thoughts as we wrapped up another college basketball season from you there, Mr. Hoty?
Arizona went on a great run. I still think ultimately Michigan just happened to be the better team that won at the right time.
Right.
But Arizona had an incredible run. They were a lot of fun to watch, especially that Purdue game. Yeah, that game was back and forth, and then on the second half, Arizona just exploded, and that was a lot of fun to see. And I also think we need to give a shout-out to Duke, because Duke, they played gritty, really gritty, after they came close with Siena State. They played gritty like the rest of the tournament. They did.
But I'll also say this, though, that losing the game the way they did against UConn will go down, to me, as one of the all-time choke jobs in NCAA
No
tournament.
doubt about it. No,
I mean, that was despicable. I mean, I hate saying that. There's no two ways about it. I mean, how you lose that game will forever, people will question that forever.
Well, again, they also, I felt like once you saw them against Siena State and how Siena State essentially had that game in control till the very end, that was kind of the sign that Duke wasn't going to win it all this year.
Well, that's because you got GMAC there. Well, not anymore. He's now at but GMAC was a hell of a player in his era. That was probably a little bit before your time, GMAC at Syracuse, but GMAC is going to, I think, turn Syracuse back into what they used to be. That's another one. Remember when we were growing up, Syracuse was elite.
They were on. Look at a lot of the schools that aren't elite, like North Carolina. They just hired Michael Malone, former Denver Nuggets head coach. Yeah,
how about that?
That's gonna be probably a big asset for them. But
we'll see if that'll be interesting, because how's Malone going to transition to college? I know they wanted Billy Donovan, but Billy Donovan told him to wait till the NBA season was over, and they weren't going to wait. So they swooped in on Malone. I was surprised that they got rid of Hubert Davis, one of their great all-time players, but that'll be interesting to see how the Tar Heels turn out next year.
It's a top program, and Hubert Davis wasn't getting the job done.
Yeah.
North Carolina is one of those blue blood schools. You have North Carolina, you have Kentucky, and you have Duke. And only one of those three schools was in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Only one.
And there's a couple other ones, too. Kansas, I'd still say, is a blue blood.
They are a blue blood, too, and they didn't get to the Elite Eight either. So
Self's going to come back now, too. He was supposed to leave, and now he's going to come back. So,
and another school, too, I'd throw out there that I'd say, not a blue blood, but a basketball school thick and thin that didn't go anywhere deep this year, Gonzaga.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Florida being the first one seed out was a shock to a lot of people after they had won the whole thing last year.
That's the tournament, though.
You're
going to get that every... You're going to get UConns and Dukes that repeat here and there under the Coach K era, obviously. You're going to get that here and there, but you're not going to get it constantly. The tournament is single elimination. If you really want to find out who the best teams are, I mean, the tournament obviously showed, I think, that Michigan was. I'm not going to argue this year, definitely. But if you really want to find out, it needs to be more like the NBA where you have a 5-game series. If you really want to find out who the best teams are.
I have no interest in that. I like the
not for the college level.
No, I like the tournament as is. It's you have folks who will not watch a second, let alone a possession. They won't watch a single second of college basketball, Andrew, and they'll be glued for 3 weekends in a row.
I'm certainly one of them.
Yeah.
I don't regularly watch college basketball regular season, but I love watching March Madness.
Okay, so you're a prime example.
I do love it. I'm just saying, if you really want to find out who the best teams are, not that the tournament format doesn't work. Let me emphasize that.
Let's not forget what's the almighty force here. They want to make money. They make a boatload of money off this thing, and they feed off of. And I do watch college basketball during the regular season. I recognize Kevin's the same way as you. He doesn't tune in much, but then, when it comes tournament time, he's glued. So they pry on folks like you guys who make them a boatload of money, and so they know the structure they have in place has been successful and worked for forever. So they're never going to change it.
I get that. I'm just saying, if you ever want to really find out who the best teams are, you're going to need a 3 or a 5-game series to prove it. That does not mean that the tournament format doesn't work and that it's not good for college basketball. You can't have college athletes play 5-game series like you do in the NBA. You just can't have that. It doesn't make any sense. So
no.
I'm totally for the March Madness format. I'm just saying, like, if you really want to find out the science behind who the best teams are, the NBA is where they're right. You have to have a series.
Or even the NHL.
And the NHL. But that's for the hockey. I'm not a big college hockey guy.
No,
I'll be completely honest. But for college
neither am I.
Yeah.
But either way, that's that. So we're going to put a bow on that. Let's talk some baseball. We're talking baseball. We're talking Guardians here on the CSR. And obviously we did, the last time we had got to talk to all of our listeners and watchers and everything was our annual Guardians preview show, in which we had Phil Yan, a good friend of the show, in the house. And so we haven't got to chew on any Guardians and gnaw at what we've seen so far here. And so I'm glad to have you in to do that this evening, because obviously I know from knowing you, big time baseball guy, big time Guardians guy. So 7-5 in first place. They walk it off against the Royals today in a bitterly freezing game in which there couldn't have been more than 2,000 people at the ballpark. I don't know if you saw pictures.
I think Hammy said it was 10,328, if I call correctly from the broadcast.
There was
a little bit more than 2,000 from what he said.
Yeah, there
10,000.
But that's paid attendance. I'm telling you, I saw the pictures.
It was pretty empty.
It was sparse. Don't blame folks. It was bitter out there today.
And this is what I'll get into with the Guardians' attendance. We've seen attendance go up in recent years. We know how good the TV ratings are. I wouldn't worry about that long term. I think this is just a weather thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about the 7-5 first place Guardians. Why don't we just start with this? Give me your overall thoughts on through 12 games. Where are you at with the ball club? Who's hot? Who's not? What have you seen? And then obviously we'll touch on a couple other things. But overall, just give me where you're at with this team as we are 12 games into 12 down, 150 to go.
I'm absolutely thrilled with everything we've seen from the Guardians so far. I'll be completely honest. I had them finishing 90-72, winning the Central this year. I think they're actually on pace to even be better than that, the way it looks. I mean, we'll have to look at the schedule right now. Obviously, as we're recording this, the Kansas City series is still ongoing. But, they already took 2 or 3 from the Cubs, 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, and split with the Mariners to get to 7-5. And they split with Kansas City so far. Like, that is a very impressive start to the season. Those are all, in my opinion, some of the top-tier teams in Major League Baseball right now. And even Kansas City is, because we know that their lineup is really good. Chase DeLauder has been absolutely on fire to start the year. Those 4 home runs in one series. Then against the Dodgers, he had another one. No, against the Cubs. Okay. I'm sorry.
Cubs on opening day.
Not the Dodgers. Pardon me about that. But you also have to look at this starting rotation. I think Gavin Williams, he did give up a home run today, but other than that, I thought he pitched terrific. Slade Ciccone, I know the Guardians lost that game, but I thought it was a win overall to see what Slade Ciccone was able to do in that 6-inning stretch. You also have to look at what we've seen from Parker Messick. He didn't look as great in that Cubs game, but I saw good stuff out of him against the Dodgers.
He still pitched very well, I thought.
He did. He pitched out of a lot of trouble. The Cubs kind of put him in more trouble than the Dodgers did, which is a little surprising. But the Dodgers right now, the only team they've lost to is the Guardians, and they lost that series.
That's right.
And I don't think the Dodgers are really – I think they know how good they are at this point, and they're looking at the regular season as we better make sure we win as many series as possible as opposed to trying to win 100 games and going all out. That's just me. But,
well, I agree with you. They've won the back-to-back World Series. Nothing in the regular season the Dodgers do or don't is going to prove anything to anybody. Their whole motto is let's just basically piss around for 6 months, be healthy enough to go on a run and win another World Series.
It's the right method to have. And I think also when you look at the offense, is there some concerns? Chase DeLauter, obviously, I think is a concern that is not going to be for the season because he was a young guy. Now that we've seen he can hit some home runs off some decent pitching, I think we know Chase DeLauter's got it in him to have some success this year. I was going to say I was concerned about Stephen Kwan at the beginning of the season when he went 0 for 5 against the Mariners in the first game of the year, but Stephen Kwan's picked it up. So
Stephen Kwan, this Royals series, he looks back to himself with that inside-out swing to left field because, to be honest with you, I thought the same thing. Kwani was worrying me. He had a rough go of it against the Dodgers and Mariners. Came home against the Cubs. It was still kind of rough, and then finally against the Royals, these last two, you've seen him. Okay, that's the Kwan we know and love.
Jose's concerning me right now because he's still not getting those base hits, really. He had that one smack against the Dodgers, but Jose's only hitting 146 right now. That's not like him.
No, he's off to a really rough start.
Yeah.
But, I mean, my thing on that, Andrew, is if there's anybody in this lineup that I'm not going to worry about, it's not the guy who will be heading to Cooperstown one day. Like, look, there's a lot of other guys who deserve our concern and our worry, and we'll get to them here throughout the next handful of minutes.
I got a name for you in just a second, but go on.
Jose is not one of them. Now, if this continues the whole month of April, then maybe we start to worry. The thing with him is he's not hitting, but all of his hits have been meaningful. Like, I want to say he only has five or six on the year, but two of them were 2-run doubles against the Mariners, a big solo shot for insurance against the Dodgers. Like, he's not hitting, but his 3 or 4 hits have been impactful. I will write excuses for Jose, and I will defend Jose for a little longer because there's a giant Hall of Fame track record that lets us do that. But we all know if Jose keeps hitting the way he is, this team is going nowhere. Nowhere.
Well, the record doesn't indicate that.
No. But there's no way this is sustainable long term for him to continue to do nothing and the team to keep winning. They are winning right now with virtually nothing from 11, and that is kind of remarkable. You can see, I saw Sunday against the Cubs, he pulled about 5 or 6 balls, home run distance, that all went foul on Easter Sunday. And it's like, okay, those are good signs. And then today he drove a ball really well to center that just got knocked down by the wind. Okay, that's a good sign. But like, I need Jose Ramirez to come up with something tomorrow against the Royals. Okay, if not, then he's going to have to hit in Atlanta for us this weekend.
And it's another great series. I mean, if you look at the start to this season, the schedule's
been a absolute gauntlet. And I sat here 2 weeks ago during our Guardians preview show in this exact same seat, and I said, because Kevin knows that I get very angry with them. I watch all the time, so my frustration level is always through the roof with them. I'm so into it, and Kevin's always the one to pump the brakes on me and be like, dude, just relax. It's a 162-game marathon. I sat here and said if they somehow came out of those first 10, 3-7 or better, I'd be okay. They came out of those first 10, 6-4. I was over the moon. And then you've split with the Royals. Great. Now I do expect you to go win the series tomorrow, be 8-5, be holding on to first place, and then we'll see what happens in Atlanta. Atlanta started off well too. They're going to have a nice bounce back year, I think. But you're right. This schedule, there's nothing easy about it. You played the Mariners, who were in a Game 7 of an ALCS last year. You played the defending World Series champions. You took 2 or 3 from them. You played the Cubs, who a lot of people expect a big year out of this year, the playoff team last year. Then you played the Royals, who, yes, not a playoff team last year, a playoff team in 24, but many have them penciled in as a playoff team in 25. So,
I have the Royals penciled in as a playoff team right now.
As do I. As do I. In fact, I have them as, the second place team in this division. I did on our preview show. And now you go play Atlanta, who, again, didn't make the playoffs last year. A lot of folks are expecting bounce back. And then you go to St. Louis, who, yeah, they're in rebuild. They're rebuilding, but they just went and took 2 or 3 from the Tigers in Detroit. So like they're not terrible. Like they are a Major League Baseball team. You're not just going to roll out of bed and be able to beat the St. Louis Cardinals. With the way our offense has been playing, you're not going to roll out of bed and beat anybody. You're going to need great pitching and timely hitting is what we got so far.
And you're forgetting the St. Louis Cardinals still have the brand. It's still St. Louis Cardinals baseball. To me, they're like I don't want to say the Pittsburgh Steelers of Major League Baseball because it's kind of like what the Cleveland Guardians are, but I want to say they're like
they're a brand.
They're like a big brand, like maybe the Green Bay Packers.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, or the Dallas Cowboys are a little flashy, St. Louis is all about the Cardinals. So to me, you could never not take the Cardinals seriously, and we've struggled to play St. Louis in recent years. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not taking that away from that at all. But going back to a second on guys I'm actually really concerned about, I think there's no doubt in my mind the one player everybody in Cleveland should be very concerned about who's not getting it going at all is Kyle Manzardo.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He has done nothing to start this year.
So Kyle Manzardo's going to need to be a big part of this offense. And just like Jose, it's great that they're 7-5 now and in first place. I just explained to you and our listening audience, I did not see this coming at all. I thought, try to get through this stretch and play 500 ball. They're playing even a little bit better. They've got nothing from Manzo. They've got nothing from J-Ram. That is concerning. I know Manzardo hit a couple balls hard against the Cubs, but nothing to show for it. I know that his expected batting average is a lot higher, and he's hit a lot of balls and hit into a lot of tough luck. I've also seen Kyle Manzardo flail at a lot of breaking balls and not look good early. That one concerns me. Another one, Bo Naylor.
I agree.
Not really getting a lot out of him. Now, Bo did have a big walk today in the 9th inning, and Bo seems generally more patient at the plate. And I thought last night he drove the ball really well a couple times, and the wind knocked it down against the Royals. As I was watching that game, I said, that's a good thing. Bo's showing some signs, but still, at the end of the day, push comes to shove, he's 136 average. Bo's going to need more than that. And we have crucify this man for the way he hits for years in this town. All jokes aside, Austin Hedges looks all right so far. Now, I will say this. The people who are getting ahead of themselves and want Hedgehog to start every day and he should replace Bo, let's remember why Austin Hedges is probably hitting well. He only has 10 at-bats. He's playing once a week. It's a perfect role for him. So when he gets out there and he does anything, it's a bonus for you. If you start playing off Austin Hedges every day, he's going to go golden sombrero every day. He's going to get overexposed. The Hedgehog's in the perfect role. The problem is he's supposed to be behind Bo, who's not hitting. That's a problem.
Bo is a concern. There's no doubt about it. Bo's been a concern for the last few years. Now, I will say this. Bo does have some pop. He's hitting 13 home runs on average a season despite hitting below 200. So while he is a liability at the plate a lot of times, there have been times Bo Naylor gets to the plate and he hits a bomb and rescues games for us. He's hitting grand slams that have rescued games for us.
Yeah, so absolutely. And Bo does have pop in his bat. And he was third most in team home runs last year. Granted, for one of the worst offenses ever, but hey, he was.
He was 5th in 2024 despite hitting, I think, 200 that year. I don't even think he was hitting. It might have been below 200. It might have been like
last year, I know he hit below 200. He hit 198.
But he had a big September. So to me, as much as I say we got to be patient with Bo Naylor, the guy I've always said we had to be patient with is Brian Rocchio. It certainly has delivered recently. Brian Rocchio has had a lot more pop in the start of a season in the last couple games than he has before.
Well, let's give Roke some credit for sure. There's always the jokes of Roke-tober. Well, how about Roke-April?
It's happening for the first time ever. He usually doesn't show up till later in the season.
No, the guy doesn't believe the season starts till after Labor Day, typically. Somebody actually, woke him up from his off-season hibernation and said, "Hey, Brian, we actually play baseball games for like 162 of them, and we do this thing from April until late August, when you usually join us and want to be an active participant, it's like September 10th. Like, we actually do this for 5 months before you show up normally. And he has. He hit a home run last night. Opener series against Seattle, he had a big 2-run double. He had a base knock for an RBI against the Dodgers, and I want to say he's third in RBIs right now. I believe third. I checked it earlier today. He's third behind DeLauder and Jose. And I will say this, that home run last night through that cold weather, I mean, that was an impressive swing. And then today, the walk-off, very patient, waited, got a fastball, didn't miss it, drove it to right field. I will say the cold weather helped us there because Lane Thomas threw about a 16 hopper to the dish, but Kafis did score. And so, yeah, I'll give Rocchio some credit. Absolutely. And I think he's going to be your shortstop for the foreseeable future. Arias has a pretty serious hamstring strain. And let's talk about, which leads us naturally to our next topic. We've been waiting for this guy since we got him for Nolan Jones. We dished him out the first time. Juan Brito made his major league debut today and showed up instantly with 2 hits. That's going to be your second baseman right now. I know a lot of people said we're kind of disappointed it wasn't Travis Bazzana. Let's call spade a spade here. Bazzana's hitting 210 for the Clippers right now. Brito was tearing the cover off the ball there. I normally crucify them and criticize them, and rightly so, and knock them for service time manipulation, which they're huge kings of. This was not service time manipulation. This was giving the shot to the guy who deserves it, and Juan deserves a shot, and I'm glad they gave it to him.
I agree with you. He deserves a shot, and I'm with you on Bazzana. Bazzana needs time, and even when he gets to the majors, he's going to need time. Chase DeLauder is just getting to the majors, too. We kind of got lucky. He's hit 5 home runs to start. That doesn't happen to many first-time major league players. That kid's doesn't happen.
We'll touch on him in a minute.
Yeah.
Kid's got crazy talent.
He does, and he did have crazy talent in the minor leagues, too.
Just couldn't
so
stay
does
healthy.
Travis Bazzana, but Travis Bazzana needs time. He needs time, more time in the minor leagues right now. I honestly am at a point where I don't even want to think about Travis Bazzana until 2027. So Juan Brito getting the start today at second base, totally fine with me. Totally understand it, and I have no issues with it.
I'm glad that Juan showed up and got 2 hits. And if Juan Brito can look, he's hit at all the levels, but voters said it himself today during his pregame media availability. Like, Juan Brito would have been here last year had it not been for the injury. Maybe Travis Bazzana would be here right now if it wasn't for him getting hurt last year too. Bazzana hit really well for Australia in the World Baseball Classic. I will say, Andrew, and I'll admit this, I am disappointed to see him only be hitting 210 in Columbus right now. I know it's super early. But right now, if Juan Brito hits, I think that it will keep all the Bazzana hype and everything at bay for a little while. And
it needs to be at bay.
And a guy that I personally in this podcast has had a collective vendetta against, and rightly so, is Gabby Arias. 5 years, and I feel bad for Gabby personally because it looked like he might have been finally starting to put it together. You go to Sunday's game, the second game against the Cubs of the Twin Bill, and Gabby, he gives them the lead. And then the Cubs come back and tie it. Then he comes back and gives them the lead again. Last night, the offense is floundering against Michael Wacha. Nothing's going right. Gabby ropes a double and pulls a hammy going around first base. And you feel for the guy because as much as I criticized him, they're still clearly giving him another shot. And the last week or so with the home run against the Dodgers, the home run to give them the lead on opening the home opener, Gabby was finally looking like he was maybe putting it together. I'm not going to say he was for sure, but it looked good. And then Gabby, pulls a hammy. So I'll say this. If Gabby comes back or doesn't come back, it's whatever to me at this point. But it was just personally a little bit upsetting for him considering, he finally looked like he knew what the hell he was doing and not floundering at the dish. And then he goes on the injured list.
It's unfortunate for Gabby Arias, and I agree with a lot of what you said. It took him a long time to try to piece it together, and I think he finally might have been starting to, and it is very, very unfortunate. But
right, and
I mean,
it is what it is. But if Brito hits, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Either way, even if Brito doesn't hit, let Daniel Schneemann play every day. he's fine.
And Schneemann being an everyday guy, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing if you're the
No,
Guardians.
I don't
the
think
offense you have.
Yeah,
Schneemann's not the worst possible guy to have in the lineup.
No, absolutely. And I know it was his major league debut, but Brito obviously made everybody feel good today in that freezing, frigid weather by roping a double down the left field line, roping a base hit. The big concern with Juan Brito, they always say in the minors, is he's not a great defender, but they say he can hit at every level. And right now, this team needs hitting. I mean, we just talked about this. This offense is a lot of guys, just like last year. We're looking at a lot of low 200s, 100s. I know it's early. I know that, we're not going to freak out. The team is 7-5, but we talked about three big bats who are batting in the middle of that lineup. Your 3, 4, and your 6 hitter, you're not getting anything from right now.
Not at all.
And that's a problem. Now, another guy, let's throw in there to throw a little bit of criticism his way. A guy, Kevin and I don't know how you guys, I believe we had talked about this before we started tonight. You were excited too. We were all, Kevin and I and you, very collectively excited about Rhys Hoskins, right?
I'm excited about Rhys Hoskins. I think he was a great pickup. I still think, you got to give the guy time. I know he didn't have a great homestand here, but he certainly showed up against the Mariners and Dodgers. So to me, give Rhys Hoskins a couple more weeks.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
you're going to start to see him, maybe even a month or so. You're going to start to see Rhys Hoskins have some pop. I think it was a great underrated move that not many people talked about in the offseason when we acquired him. And
yes.
I think we are going to, we acquired him relatively recently, so it wasn't all offseason. But still, I think you got to keep an eye on him. I think he is going to start to show a little bit of pop towards late April, early May, because he certainly did last year. Last year.
Yeah, last year's season was derailed by injury. Here's a hot take for you.
Mm-hmm.
If Voter puts him in the lineup, I think Rhys Hoskins is going to tear it up in Atlanta this weekend. Thought on that? Rhys Hoskins played a lot of games in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Rhys Hoskins is seeing a lot of pitchers he hasn't seen because Rhys Hoskins spent his entire career in the National League before now. Rhys Hoskins did have a good Mariners series. Then they held him out the last 2 games. Double against the Dodgers. That other game they won, he drew that huge bases loaded walk. Rhys Hoskins, I think, is going to have a big series in Atlanta. And my theory behind that is friendly confines. He played for the Phillies for years. How many trips has he made at Truist Park? Countless in his career. You spend that much time with the Phillies, you're playing in Atlanta a lot because obviously same division, NL East. I think Rhys Hoskins could be good in Atlanta. I'm also going to say this, as much as I just said we're freaking out about Hoty and Manzo and Bo, I don't think the last 2 days, the weather conditions have been ideal for anybody to hit the baseball.
It certainly wasn't today for the Kansas City Royals, and we're talking about a Royals lineup that we think has more pop than the Guardians.
Absolutely. And
Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, that's a 3-man right there that's got a lot of pop. And I'll even throw in, look at the guys that have been hitting. It was Carter Jensen.
Carter Jensen has 2 home runs.
Yeah.
And I will say this. I'm glad that they did win today because it was a very bizarre afternoon at the ballpark because they only gave up 1 hit. It was Carter Jensen's solo blast, as you had just mentioned. He has 2 home runs in 2 games this series.
Other than that, Gavin Williams was phenomenal today.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The problem where I had today was, and maybe it's just grip on the baseball, it was so damn cold.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get good grip on your off-speed pitches, things like that. They walked 8 guys today. Now, not often do you give up 1 hit and potentially lose the game, which they almost did. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine, they win the game. That's all good and dandy. Obviously, we talked about Brian Rocchio walk-off. You don't get away with walking 8 men and winning a game too often. So that, in a weird way, felt like, yeah, the Guardians definitely should win this game because they've only given up 1 hit. And on the other side, your one eye's looking at that and your other eye's looking kind of cross-eyed like, well, wait a minute. They walked 8 guys and we won the game. So very strange afternoon at Progressive Field today.
Definitely was strange, but at the same time, they had crucial guys that were coming to the plate and they got outs out of it.
Yeah.
You had Salvador Perez, I think it was in the 8th inning.
Armstrong got his way out of that. And he had Bobby Witt, I think, was on second, and was it Pasquantino on first? It was something like that. Yeah.
I think Witt was first in the lineup then, not first overall, but in the lineup today.
Yes.
So I think those were who was on second and first, and you have Perez. That's the worst scenario to be in, possibly.
Perez, who's been killing us for 15 years.
It didn't look like it today.
No.
It did not look like it today. But as I said, and there's still some guys in that Kansas City Royals lineup I'd watch. Jonathan India certainly got us the other night, and I still think he's a guy that Kansas City might get some pop out of this year. So, to me, the fact you were able to win this game today, huge. You mentioned the 8 guys walking. Outside of that, as I said, I think Gavin Williams did what he was supposed to today.
Absolutely.
You still see the bullpen figured out. Cade Smith is a guy I'm actually concerned about that we didn't talk about because we really have talked about the lineup as much as
well,
much the pitching.
absolutely. But I was to piggyback off of your point there. Cade Smith
looked good today, though.
Looked terrible, quite frankly. Not good against the Cubs. He came into Dodgers games, gave up 2 runs. Today looked like vintage Cade Smith. He was 10 pitches in and out of there. His breaking stuff looked the best it looked all year, his off-speed stuff. And Voter himself said it. Voter goes, that's the best Cade's looked all year, bar none. I mean, he blew a save in Seattle. I was very worried about Cade. Today, my Cade confidence meter went skyrocketed because that's the Cade Smith I've come to know and love as a fan.
I'll even throw this out at you. When Hunter Gaddis gets back, I am considering seeing him close some games. He's got some heat to him.
Yeah, I think they've kind of decided Cade's going to be the closer. And to be honest with you, I like Armstrong, but I don't love Armstrong. And he does seem to, he's given up 2 absolute piss missile home runs this year. To me, I put Hunter back in the 8th inning, or depending on the matchup, switch Hunter and Sombrowski. Because do you realize Eric Sombrowski has a career like 1.11 ERA?
Eric Sombrowski has been terrific. There's no doubt about it. He has been the best bullpen guy we've had this season. No
Absolutely.
doubt about it.
No.
Eric Sombrowski is number 1 for me right now.
No questions about it, Andrew. So to me, I maybe move Armstrong more to like the 6th inning guy, and then I flip-flop Gaddis and Sombrowski, and I keep Cade as a closer. Cade, as much as he struggled today, maybe regain a lot of confidence, and I'm not ready to yank him from the 9th yet. Now, if we see more of how we saw at Dodger Stadium and more of how we saw in Seattle, I'm worth giving Gaddis a shot, or even Sombrowski. And I'll tell you one other thing. The Rule 5 kid, Peyton Pallette, I mean, he looks really
okay too. Yeah,
he looks really good. Festa has been pretty good, and then he looked like old Matt Festa the other night. He gave up a couple runs, but overall, the bullpen's been good. The rotation's been excellent. Parker Messick, can't say enough good things about.
Can't say enough good things about Parker Messick. You're absolutely right.
Gavin looks like a true ace. Tanner, he's not getting deep into games. I think they're being very cautious with that shoulder, but I thought he pitched well for the most part last night.
I think he did too. Tanner is actually the pitcher I'm the most concerned about in the rotation.
Fair enough.
Everybody.
You're not the first person I've heard that from.
We're paying him the most money, too. That's the other thing that's kind of interesting. Like, Tanner is supposed to be essentially our 1, at least our 2.
But
Gavin Williams we expect to be the 1.
Let's remember that we don't pay anybody, so it's hard to...
You're not wrong, but we're paying him the most of the guys we have.
Right. Cantillo looked pretty good in the home opener,
Cantillo looked good in the home opener. He gave up the 1 run, but
he goes tomorrow.
DeLauder saved us that game too. But.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so did Gabby Arias, as we
Gabby Arias did too. Yes.
And then Slade Ciccone, the first start was kind of a disaster.
Terrific,
but the
second start was. Sorry,
yeah, the second start was terrific. Also, Kafis maybe misplayed a few balls in the field, and then Slade looked excellent against the Cubs the other day. And like you said, that was a game that they probably should have figured out how to win. All right. How about Kafis? He struggled early, but big in that Cubs game. That was a CJ Kafis game Sunday night. So I think overall I'm satisfied with where we are. We'll see how things go. You got a rubber match against the Royals tomorrow. We are recording this on Tuesday, April 7th. So by the time this comes out, this will come out on the Guardians off day. So kind of a great day for this episode to get released, if you ask me, because we just kind of did a State of the Union of the Guardians to the first dozen. So
fair enough.
So check this out, obviously. It'll be Perfect Thursday, and we're not really going to get into previewing the Atlanta series too much because I think it's time that we move on to the Cavaliers.
Can I say one more thing about the Guardians before we move on?
Yeah.
There's one thing I actually have absolute, complete confidence in. I'm not worried at all, and that's Guardians manager Stephen Vogt. I think he is quite possibly the best manager in the division.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's because of what we know is behind AJ Hinch.
Yes.
So I still question that. And To me, based on everything we've seen, he's made the right decisions. He's not afraid to pull the trigger on moving guys into pitching right away with the bullpen. I think the Guardians have shown they have nothing but confidence in him. I think the lineup has shown they have nothing but confidence in him. I think we've rallied around him.
I think Stephen Vogt's a modern version of Terry Francona. He gets nothing to work with. He gets no financial backing, and he figures out how to make this team win. So therefore, when I really think about it, yeah, A.J. Hinch has a World Series that's tainted. Will Venable, we just don't know enough about. I think Matt Quattro's a pretty good manager in Kansas City.
Yeah, Quattro's good.
And who am I forgetting? AL Central, White Sox, Royals, Guardians, Tigers,
Minnesota Twins.
Twins. I don't think Derek Shelton's a great manager. You might be 100% right that Stephen Vogt's the best manager in the AL Central.
Well, the White Sox and the Twins aren't going anywhere anyway.
They stink.
Yeah.
Although the White Sox just swept the Blue Jays. Let's give them a little credit.
It's not going to last.
No, but you got to give them credit where it's due.
They did sweep the Blue Jays. I do think the White Sox are going to surpass the Twins this year. I think they're the fourth best team. I think the Twins are going to be a disaster. That's
So do I.
opinion.
So do I.
Yeah.
I mentioned that on our preview episode. All right, Andrew, let's talk about the Cavs because I believe the next time that we record an episode, we're going to know who they're playing in the first round. That is 100% true. Let's give our Cavs end-of-season thoughts here. The Cavs beat the crap out of the Grizzlies last night. It doesn't matter because the Grizzlies are awful and actively trying to lose. The Cavs, I think, tomorrow night they'll play Atlanta. Friday they'll play Atlanta. Sunday they'll play Washington. And then it looks like if things stay the way they are, they're going to go back to playing Atlanta. I think they're going to try to lose to Atlanta and not show Atlanta their stuff because that's who they're going to play in the first round. What say you on this? I don't envision Donovan Mitchell or anybody super important playing tomorrow night. None of those guys really played last night. The Cavs tried to lose last night, and the Grizzlies are so awful they wouldn't let it happen.
Well, I'll say this. If the Cavs are actively trying to stay the 4 seed, they're very lucky the Knicks did win. So,
yeah.
And they won 50 games. They want to have a home playoff series. They did what they needed to do, and that was beat the Memphis Grizzlies. So you don't want to show your best stuff against the Atlanta Hawks because I am very confident that's who you're playing in the first round. So I don't think these are going to be playoff preview games by any stretch. I think you're going to see a lot of the Cavs bench in these games. I don't think you're going to see much of James Harden either. I think you're going to see what you see from the Cavs rotational pieces. It'll be a lot of Larry Nance. It'll be a lot of Thomas Bryant. It's going to be a lot of those guys. And I was at the game against Indiana on Sunday night. And I'll tell you what, without Jared Allen and Evan Mobley in the lineup, there is great concern for the Cavs. Because Indiana was in that game the whole time until the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, the Cavs really took it over. And I get it. They were shorthanded. But, like, the same time, like, to me, like, even though the Cavs won that game and they were supposed to win it, why were they letting the Indiana Pacers hang on that long? They could have easily won it if everybody was in the lineup. But I get it. To me, I'm more about making sure you get home court. They got home court. Now, to me, it's like now you can put the season in cruise control. I would have really focused on trying to get home court against the Memphis Grizzlies, too. And they did, granted, because the Grizzlies are just that bad. But still, to me, I feel like you have home court now. Put this in cruise control. Don't show the Hawks your best stuff. You're likely going to be seeing them in round 1 anyway. And honestly, out of the teams that are below the Hawks, I want to see the Atlanta Hawks over Toronto or Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I think it's the best matchup.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Now, the Knicks, just for information's sake here, they finish up. They have the Celtics on Thursday night, Raptors on Friday night, and then they finish Sunday at the Garden against the Hornets. So,
kind of a brutal stretch for them.
Yeah, I mean, they play good teams the rest of the way. Versus the Cavs, I mean, yeah, they play Atlanta, but I think Atlanta's going to try to win those games. Even though it's not going to make much of the difference, the Cavs, no matter what Atlanta does, the Cavs still could go to 3. And I don't think they want to. That's the problem. I don't think they have any interest.
If I'm the Cavs, I don't want to play the 3. The Cavs need this. In order for the Cavs to have a successful season this year, in my view, they have to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think playing Boston in the second round is a way to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's playing Detroit in the second round.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Boston we know has been their kryptonite for a while now.
Actually, only one season.
Yeah, but even before but go back to, I'm talking
The 2000s.
years.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm talking back in LeBron's second tenure here, things like that. Boston's been a thorn in the Cavs' side for a while,
yeah.
even though Boston, the Cavs used to be able to beat Boston. But Boston wants to run up and down the floor like a million miles an hour and shoot like 77 million threes. That doesn't work well with the Cavs. Now the Pistons, to your point, we know what they're going to do. We watched it because the guy who runs the show up there now ran the show here for how many years? The Pistons they struggle scoring, and they want to play tough defense, and they want to basically out physical you for a while, which I also don't think works great with the Cavs, because what's been the Cavs' problem in the playoffs the last few years? They can't outmuscle anybody. So I think either way, this is not ideal for the Cavaliers. They're going to have to show us something, though, because right now I'm a little bit skeptical, and I think it's, to be perfectly honest, I'm going to root like hell for them, but I think you're lying. As a fan, you have to be honest with yourself, and all Cavs fans should be skeptical, because in the Mitchell era, what have they done differently to show us anything in the playoffs?
I did say that Detroit would be their best way to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I still think the Detroit Pistons are the better team. I still think the Pistons would beat us in a playoff series. So to me,
yeah,
I'm at a point where I think the Cavs are doomed in the second round no matter who they play. I would just rather see Detroit than Boston, and that's just me. So I'm hoping the Cavs stay the 4 seed for that specific reason. Why I'm skeptical about the Cavs is just because this roster, even though, you got James Harden, and the Cavs needed a veteran presence. They needed somebody like a James Harden, I think, over a Darius Garland. I think they were too young, and they needed to have a veteran voice in the room that's been there and done that, like a James Harden. But to me, they in the Donovan Mitchell era, they just don't go beyond the second round. And they barely got beyond the first round one year, because the Orlando Magic took them to 7 games, if you don't recall.
I do recall.
Yeah, and that was a concerning playoff series. Even though the Cavs technically had a successful playoff series and we won it and whatnot, everyone knew going in that we weren't going to be. We might beat Boston in a game, and we did. We lost the series.
Yeah,
in
then
5.
on top of that, you lost Allen.
You lost Allen. Yeah,
you lost Mitchell.
You lost Mitchell. You lost Allen, and even if they were healthy, you probably would have gone 6 maybe in that series.
Well, to me, the thing that bothers me is last year's. Losing to Indiana was just,
that was brutal. Indiana.
And I don't care that
got hot at the right time.
Yeah,
and Indiana, to their credit, Indiana played a lot better defense last year than the year before. Everyone questioned the Pacers' defense for a long time, and Tyrese Halliburton probably was the most clutch player. I know we have this talks that he's not a superstar, but he's a damn good all-star player, and he's clutch. And that's exactly what it was. All playoffs. It wasn't just against the Cavs. He wreaked havoc on the Milwaukee Bucks. He wreaked havoc in the Eastern Conference Finals against New York. He wreaked havoc for Oklahoma City in the first couple games. Oklahoma City proved to be the better team, but Indiana took them 7 games.
Yeah.
So Indiana, obviously the Pacers, because of the trades and the injuries this year, are not the same team. But Indiana last year was built for a finals run. They were. I know no one will admit that because they saw what Indiana was in the regular season last year, but they got hot at the right time. The Cavs kind of got hot at the wrong time. The Cavs need to show what they can do in the postseason. So to me, the fact we won 50 games, glad we did.
Doesn't really matter, though.
Yeah, I don't really care.
I'm the same way.
Show it here.
I don't really give a shit. And here's where I'm at with the Cavs. Mm-hmm. We just talked about why it will be, why they're going to struggle maybe in the second round, whether it is the Detroit Pistons or the Boston Celtics or whoever the hell it may be. A Cavs season is not successful unless they get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I sat here in this seat and I said it in October, and I also said it, beforehand, and I'm going to say it at the end of the season too. Come hell or high water, Andrew, they have to figure out a way to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And it may take James Harden and Donovan Mitchell combining for 80 points. It doesn't matter, though. They need to piece it together.
That's fine.
They got to figure out a way to do it, because to me, everything they've done in the Mitchell era, then if you don't go to the Eastern Conference Finals, it becomes an overall failure. And I'm with you, though. I don't give a shit even if they don't get past the second round, I'm still glad they made the Darius Garland trade. Kevin doesn't see it that way, but I'm with you. Darius Garland and Donovan were never going to work long term. It had to be the way it had to be, and I'm glad it is. And
it was a good trade for the Clippers, too.
And maybe
the Clippers are a retirement home. I just want to point that out. Until Darius Garland now. That team is so old and it was so decrepit with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden and all the old guys. They needed young blood and they got it with Darius Garland. But I know they're talking Cavs here. I just thought I'd throw that out about the Clippers. I think that's a good trade.
No. You bring
both sides. It was a good trade.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Darius is playing great there, and that's going to make a lot of people be like, "Well, I don't get the trade. It doesn't work." God bless Darius. He can score, he can run, he can be ball dominant. Also, don't worry about that. It's fine. Darius and Donovan were never going to work together. You have to do what makes Donovan Mitchell best. He's your modern era LeBron James for not sake of greatest of all time, for sake of best player on this individual team. The Cavaliers, though, they have to figure out a way to get it done, though. And I know I sound like a broken record, but again, look, whether that's Evan Mobley suddenly playing a lot better in the playoffs, maybe that's it. Jared Allen, I think we learned when he was out for a while how important he is. A lot of people have always hypothetically been throwing him in trades for years.
The guy you wanted to trade, if you were going to trade someone, was either Darius or Donovan.
Well, not Donovan.
Not Donovan now, but I'm just saying
not Donovan ever. I would have never been against that because you get Donovan off this team, I think it's a total disaster. It's nothing more than a play-in team to me.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying if you were to get Donovan something with Darius and Jarrett, but at the same time, no. To me, Donovan and Darius were never going to work together, so you had to get something for one of the two of them. Darius ended up being the guy you traded. I don't think Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell have always played well together, so I don't think Jared Allen was ever. I mean, Jared Allen, we were talking about how he was snubbed of an All-Star last year and the year before that.
Right.
So to me,
this year, a lot of people were down on him coming into the year, and then you missed him there for an extensive period in March, and it showed you how valuable he is. Mm-hmm. Look, we'll know who they're playing next week. Do I say I'm going into it confident? No, because I'd be lying to myself as a Cavs fan. I think most would be. Here's one thing I do like, though. Last year, everybody was kissing the Cavs' ass going into it. I mean, everybody. Charles Barkley on TNT. I was kissing the Cavs' ass big time. I was drinking that wine and gold Kool-Aid like you've never seen.
Well, then you have to remember they go into the Miami series, and the Miami Heat didn't play at all like we know the Miami Heat to play like with Eric Spoelstra.
Well, yeah, but that was a different team. That team kind of stunk. If we're being honest about it.
They did, but still Heat culture was present.
Okay, fair enough. But either way, everybody was drinking the wine and gold Kool-Aid and kissing the Cavs' ass up and down. I was doing it. You say you were guilty of it.
Yeah.
Charles Barkley was doing it. Stephen A. Smith was doing it. All the national big-time loudmouths were doing it. And what happened? They ended up getting gentlemen swept by Indiana. Maybe it's a good thing for this Cavs team. Maybe we all, if we continue to push away the wine and gold Kool-Aid and we don't drink it, and maybe they're going to surprise us. Maybe that's the better thing. Maybe that's what this team needs.
100% agree with you. I think all season long we've questioned the Cavs. All season long. We saw this team bubbling 500 in November and December, and everyone was worried. Everyone was freaking out. You're not going to start 15-0 every season. Let me just state that off the record.
Yeah, that goes without saying, yeah.
The NBA regular season, I always say this, is never a forecast of what happens in the playoffs. Just look at last year. The Cavs should have won the finals or gone to the finals to face Oklahoma City if that would have been the case. They weren't. Indiana was 50-32, and they're the ones that went to the finals. Oklahoma City did prove to be the best team, but nevertheless, that's just another fact. I mean, well, I think you're right. You got to push back on the whole wine and gold thing right now because this Cavs team has to prove it.
Right, and let me ask you something. Mm-hmm. Is there, as we've come to know it, is there a regular sports season that's more meaningless and useless than the NBA?
Can't name another.
No.
Baseball's 162 games, and I can tell you what, all 162 games feel like they matter.
They do.
Yeah.
They matter. The NHL, they matter. Look at the wild card race going on over there right now. The NFL, you only play 17 of the things. They matter. Mm-hmm. This NBA regular season really has become utterly useless. And that's
it is.
That's where we're at. So we'll see what the Cavs end up doing. All right, Andrew, I'm not gonna put you on the spot here, but I do have to touch on it. I love to watch golf. I know we had talked before the show because I didn't want to put you on the spot on the air. You're not a big golf guy. This is, however, the Super Bowl of golf this weekend. We have the Masters at Augusta, Georgia. So real quick, I'm just going to go over it. I know a lot of people are going to take Scheffler. He's won he's won 2 of the last 4. Obviously, Rory won last year, completed his Grand Slam. We have the live guys. We have Bryson DeChambeau will be participating. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to have a sneaky pick. So after much thought about it, and listeners can hold me to it, I'm going to go out there and say it. Guy probably won't even end up making the cut. I like Justin Rose to win the Masters this year. And I'll be watching a little bit this weekend for sure. Actually, probably a whole hell of a lot. I love the Masters. I'm not going to ask you for a pick because I know you're not a big golf guy. So unless you'd like to give one.
Bryson DeChambeau, I guess.
Okay. All right. But yeah. So yeah, I obviously we don't want to go too heavy into that because, we're not, I don't want to talk to myself about it basically. So that's that. But yeah, obviously golf fans, this is the tournament we all look forward to and can't wait for. And hopefully we get a great finish like we did last year in Augusta, Georgia, because last year's Masters, quite frankly, in my opinion, was one of the most memorable in a while. They're all memorable because of how statuesque and how important and just the feeling you get when you watch the Masters. You feel like you're watching something. But obviously last year with Rory completing the career Grand Slam, it was cinematic and it was beautiful and it was wonderful to watch on Sunday afternoon. All right. That'll do it for this week's episode of the CSR. You can follow us on Instagram at CLE Sports Realm. We're also on TikTok at CLE Sports Realm and Twitter, or I guess they call it X now. I still call it Twitter. It's been years, but
Twitter, same thing.
Yeah, I'll never change. And then this episode will be available to listen to on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and you can watch it on YouTube. Mr. Andrew Hoty, I thank you very, very much for filling in tonight and being here. I think you did
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I think you did a very admirable job. Before we go, obviously, we mentioned that you used to be on 92.3 The Fan, but obviously you're a couple other places now. If you guys recognize the voice, that's right. He often did the 2020s and board. You did a little bit of everything there, quite frankly. You were a jack of all trades down there, but now you are still on 88 through this thing as you've been since
2019. I'm there Tuesday mornings from 6 to 9 for your morning drive of modern rock, and Sunday nights for Oldies Amplified, which is a classic rock show with a little bit of twist from 10 to 1 on Sunday nights.
And then obviously Kevin has mentioned that him and I both went to BW several times, and then obviously you as well went to BW, we mentioned, and you do a podcast too with a few BW guys, so make sure to please get that plug in again.
Raw Takes and Co. on YouTube. Check us out. Andrew Hoty, myself, Jake Malencic, and Matthias Andahar. New episodes on Thursdays or Fridays, depending on the week. We always give a little bit of an announcement on what day it'll be, usually right beforehand, but we should be good to go this Thursday as well, the same day this drops.
Okay, awesome. And then you guys, obviously very similar to this, you touch on Cleveland sports, you touch on a little bit of national stuff as well, and I've listened to it. It's a good listen, so I'm not just saying that because the guy's sitting a foot away from me. It's a good listen, everybody, so enjoy it. And then I think that's just about it. But last but not least, the man who has power again, producer Derek. Thank you for producing the podcast on the other side. We'll talk to everybody next week. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Derek. Have a great night, everybody. And enjoy this episode. And go Guardians.